Hey friends, welcome back to Coffee, Crochet, and Conversation. First up, I want to give a big shout out to California because according to analytics, that's where the biggest chunk of my listeners are hanging out from. Apparently, y'all have me in your ears while you're drinking your coffee and sitting in traffic. And honestly, respect, because I've heard y'all got some bad traffic. Also, shout out to my Apple Podcast listeners. You guys keep multiplying like rabbits over there, and you're making my little podcaster heart very happy. It's proof that this show is actually finding people that want to hear it. So that's a little wild. And a welcome to our people who are now tuning in from YouTube. I recently uploaded the show with some AI pictures to make a video. So we are now on YouTube too. Another hooray is we broke 100 listens this week. So cue the confetti poppers. And it's okay, you can picture me dancing weirdly in my living room where no one could see me but my judgmental cats. So not only are we global, but we've hit those sweet, sweet triple digits. And that's all because of you. So thank you for bringing me my small wins. Of course, I had Earl whispering in my ear. No one's listening. No one cares. I had to take a breath, tell Earl to kick rocks, and let myself celebrate anyway. So let's check in for the week. On a personal side, I spent time with my mother-in-law. She and I went shopping, and we always have fun. I know not everyone is fortunate enough to get along with their mother-in-law, so credit where credit's due. And honestly, I'd rather shop with her than my husband most of the time. So my husband's like an in and out kind of guy, and I'm let's browse and bullshit. During football season, I tend to take her with me a lot, so I don't keep getting dragged out of the store because, kickoff is about to start. In running news, my training is starting to pick up in the pace department, which means my brain is thrilled and my legs are staging a protest. I'm over here like, woohoo, I'm probably getting faster. And my calves are like, no, ma'am, we did not sign up for this. And I would like to file a complaint with the HR department. So let's get into today's theme, solo parenting. Specifically, what's it really like growing up with a single parent? And what it looks like to survive and sometimes thrive as one yourself. I want to make sure I make it known I have never been a single parent. I'm very fortunate, but my parents separated when I was like 4 months old. I will be approaching this topic from the child's perspective. What it felt like growing up with a single parent. And then there's what I've witnessed or, help friends and family go through who are in like the thick of it. All right, friends, let's talk about the wins and fails of solo parenting. Because let's be honest, there's always a little mix of both. The wins? Oh, they're big ones. The bond you have with your kids is just different. Not better, not worse, but it is different. You learn to be resourceful, like MacGyver. And there's this independence that grows, both for the parent and the kids. You guys kind of become your own team. And the fails? Pure chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. Because you have to juggle everything alone. Bills, school, work, schedules, plus tiny humans who insist on being fed every single day like it's a law or something. And if you're co-parenting with an ex, that can bring on an entirely new level of, quote, fun. Whatever issues existed in the relationship sometimes carry over into the kids' lives. And here's the thing. It's not just my family. About 23% of kids in the U.S. live with a single parent. That's more than 18 million children. And for context, the global average is closer to 7%. So when I say that the wins and fails are real, I know a lot of you are probably listening and nodding along. Case in point, my childhood. My mom was a very strict helicopter parent. She hovered over everything, keeping me on a healthy diet because I was overweight. My dad, he was 80% fast food and 100% laid back hippie boomer. I had an older dad compared to most. He was an actual hippie. So my diet was a tug of war between carrots and drive-through fries. Imagine that chaos. Some of my favorite memories are still with my dad. My mom remarried when I was like 4. So that was always like a 2-parent house. My dad was the single parent for a good chunk of my childhood. And I loved weekends with him. He's actually where I got my love of video games from. And it was a simple routine, but it was very, very special. He would buy me the game. And then for my younger listeners, back before the internet was a big thing, you had to buy the guidebook to tell you how to beat the game. And we'd team up. I'd play the game, and he'd sit there reading the walkthrough like he was my personal dungeon master. And that was our us time. And those moments are still burning in my heart as some of the best. And honestly, that's another one worth mentioning. Research shows that kids in single-parent homes often develop a stronger bond with that parent because the relationship has to stretch and cover so much. And nobody's saying it's easy. God, it's not easy. But it can be deeply, deeply meaningful. Okay, it's time for our regular segment, Stitch Happens, the part of the show where I share a little of my life chaos that probably shouldn't happen, but it always does. So over the week, my husband's friend came over for football. And of course, I'm on dinner duty. So I decided to make salsa con queso chicken and rice. I follow Zach Cohen. Huge shout out to him. You can find him on TikTok, YouTube, and if you really like his recipes, you can subscribe to his Patreon. He's a dietitian. If you want recipes that are low calorie, high protein, easily affordable, and taste really good, I really recommend him. And I'm not like a paid sponsor or anything. Anyway, back to the story. The recipe's simple. You cook the chicken, set it aside, then you do the rice and the corn and the tomatoes, and you let that cook. Then once everything's done, you add in the salsa con queso and the chicken and stir it up. Foolproof, right? Wrong. So I cooked my chicken and I tucked it safely in the microwave because, remember, I have cats and they would probably try to swipe one like a little furry jewel thief. And then I got distracted. I finished the rice and everything, and we had realized we were out of bottled water because my kids love to drink and eat everything, but not tell anybody we're out. So I ran to the store, I got the bottled water, came back, told everybody, food was ready. I get my bowl and I sit down to eat, and I'm about halfway through it, and I'm like, I can't believe I've ate half of this and I have not had a single piece of chicken. And it suddenly hits me. I forgot the chicken. It was still sitting in the microwave. Meanwhile, everybody else was done eating. So we had a glorious mix of rice, cheese, and veggies. Chicken nowhere to be found. So I took a chicken meal and made it vegetarian, I guess. Needless to say, it was a little sad, a little funny, and a reminder that even a simple recipe with step-by-step instructions and cheats like using jarred salsa queso can still bite you in the ass if you forget the star ingredient. All right, let's move into some lessons and perspective. Things I learned growing up with a single parent that really stuck with me. One of the biggest lessons, you have to take care of your kids, but you also need to teach them to take care of themselves. My dad worked midnights during the week, and he had me on the weekends. So he made it a point to teach me life skills early, how to cook for myself, handle little tasks, and to just be self-reliant. I wasn't allowed outside while he was asleep, so I'm pretty sure that's where my video game and reading addiction came from. But in my mind, I could go anywhere. And not only did it help him get some sleep during the day, but it also means I grew up self-sufficient a lot sooner than most kids. My mom ran a daycare while my stepdad worked, so I had to help with those kids. Both houses kind of pushed me towards independence quickly, but my dad's house was a lot more freeing. I was self-sufficient without the responsibility of caring for others. Now, that would be different if I'd had a younger sibling at his house, but I was his baby, so it was just me. And here's the thing. Research shows kids in a single-parent homes often develop independence and problem-solving skills earlier than their peers. And that definitely tracked for me. That self-sufficiency also shaped empathy, resilience, and critical thinking. For me, my dad was always my why person. Anytime I wanted to know something, he would spend hours breaking it down, helping me understand not just what, but to think about the how and the why. And that patience and willingness to teach, it stuck with me. It's honestly why people for years either said I should be a teacher or I should write a book, because he taught me how to take complex issues and break them down without sounding condescending. Just because the person you're talking to might not understand the subject you're talking about, doesn't mean they're dumb. It just means that it needs explained to them. And honestly, that's almost like the first stepping stone of building this podcast, because that's what I try to do here. And my dad, he often told me that was his favorite part of my childhood, was asking why. He almost shaped the way I view the world. And I also want to say that I was lucky. Like I said, my parents separated when I was like 4 months old. I never had memories of them together. But when my mom got with my stepdad, I was 4 years old. And I got another person in my life who never once made me feel like I was not his kid. Even his family made me one of their own. I remember this one time we were outside and I had cut my finger, and my stepdad's brother was freaking out. Check her finger. Don't forget, we're in our family. We're all heavy bleeders. Make sure she's okay. Completely forgetting the fact that we didn't share any DNA. And that sense of belonging even carried over into my own kids. My youngest, who I've mentioned before, is tall. And a lot of times I get, well, your dad and brother are tall. And I just smile, because the dad they're talking about actually shares no DNA. And my brother's only my half-brother. Family's not always about blood. Studies show that high-quality step-parent relationships are strongly linked to better emotional and academic outcomes for kids. And I live that truth. And I was very, very fortunate that I had that, because not everybody gets that. So here's the advice I share with my friends when they have kids and they're unhappy in their relationship. Don't make a square peg fit into a round hole. If you're miserable and you think that ultimately separation is on the table, like, well, I'm just going to stay for now, and then once the kid gets older, I'm going to leave. Do it earlier rather than later. Kids thrive more in a stable, consistent environment than a house full of tension. And if you do it early enough, like in my case, they never remember. I don't ever remember my mom and dad being together. So you can't miss it. You yearn for it. Ultimately, what I hope listeners take away from this is that parenting isn't just about raising children. It's about raising humans who can think for themselves, handle challenges, and have empathy for others. And that the lessons might come from unexpected places, but they stick with you in ways you don't even realize until maybe years later. All right, it's time for our Brews News, where we sip on the week's headlines, sometimes bitter, sometimes sweet, and always something to chew on with your coffee. So, Epstein Files update. The House Oversight Committee released 6 pages out of 8,544 documents. Yeah, that's barely a sip from the pot. We're only seeing a sliver, and more could drop. Inside what they dropped: flight logs, schedules, and meeting notes, keeping Epstein's circle in the headlines. You had names like Elon Musk penciled in for a 2014 island trip, Peter Thiel for a 2017 lunch, Stephen Bannon listed for a 2019 breakfast. Now, these aren't allegations of wrongdoings, but a peek at how that circle stayed powerful long after his 2007 conviction. And the worst part is silence from Musk, Thiel, and Bannon. Deafening. Oversight Democrats say they will not stop until we identify everyone complicit, while Republicans accuse them of cherry picking. Partisan tug-of-war, because of course. So the special election in Arizona brought a power shift. Arizona Secretary of State has certified, I don't want to mess up this woman's name, Adlita something. Her special election win. No contest, right? All good. Everyone voted. She won. It's all good. Nobody's saying no. Except Speaker Mike Johnson, who has not sworn her in, despite the fact that when Virginia had a special election and James Wolkenshaw won, the very next day he got sworn in, even before the results were official. You have to wonder, why? Democrats say it's a strategic stall because she would be the 218th signature needed to force release of the full Epstein files. If you delay her oath, you delay the vote. That is political chess, folks. A little break in the heaviness. Don't mind the cats. So let's talk about the shutdown. The government's staring down another shutdown. And the headlines are framing it as the Democrats demanding healthcare for immigrants. And then there's this, well, first it was transfer everyone, now it's transfer Peru. Here's a reality check. Undocumented immigrants are already barred by law from federally funded healthcare. It's against the law. And trans for everyone is not an actual policy. And it really surprises me sometimes when I talk to people and they spit that back out at me. Well, they want trans for everyone. And I go, what does that mean? And they just kind of look at me. And I'm like, do you think they're going to like kidnap you and take you to the hospital and force you to have a trans surgery? No. Like, it's not. So what is really on the table? Well, what the Democrats actually want is extension of the American Health Care Act. They have subsidies. It's tax credits that lower that monthly premium for millions of people. It makes it so people can afford health insurance. If those expire, premiums could spike 50 to 75% for families. So that's the fight. That's what the argument is about. Not these quick hit slogans. So let's talk about Tom Homan and his bribery story. Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, faces scrutiny after reports of FBI undercover agents filmed him allegedly accepting $50,000 in cash during a 2024 Texas sting. It was delivered in a restaurant takeout bag, recorded on video and audio. But prosecutors later dropped the case, saying no direct quid pro quo could be proven. Holman says it's a baseless accusation. Democrats want to see the tapes. And that's the kind of headline that makes you go, what? Really? The reason they didn't press charges in 2024 when he took the bribe was they were waiting to see if he would follow through. Well, when the other administration got into power, they just canceled it. So you come to your own conclusions. Sky has decided to do gymnastics off of the cat tower. That's what you hear. So let's talk about James Comey and his indictment. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted on 2 felony counts: false statements to Congress and obstruction. And all this stems from his 2020 Senate testimony. If convicted, he could face up to 5 years per count. The odd thing about this is it happened days after Trump Truth Social posted, to me it's still a tweet, Pam, it's about to expire, do it now. Critics note that the previous U.S. attorney, which was their pick, refused to indict. He said there was not enough evidence. And then so he lined another prosecutor, and that prosecutor stepped in. I really recommend for this story, if you want to know more, go to Legal AF, because they handle like courts and legals and stuff. And it's the whole thing is a mess. The paperwork was not filed right and all this. It kind of sums up things. But what was Comey's response to this? I'm innocent, so let's have a trial. Analysts warn the case probably won't hold up in court. That's kind of the whole point with a lot of these stories with him. It's about the optics. They get the headline they want. They get people riled up and repeating what the accusations are, and the actual facts that get proven later, well, you don't hear them as much. That's flooding the zone. And that's your Brews News for the week. Definitely a lot brewing. But this is Coffee, Crochet, and Conversation and not C-SPAN. So let's put the coffee down, shake off the heavy stuff, and get back to the cozy chaos that you guys probably actually signed up for. All right, let's switch gears. Time for survival and self-care tips. Because we all know solo parenting is basically a full contact sport. And sometimes it feels like you're playing a round of The Floor is Lava with Legos at 2 a.m. on the way to the bathroom. So first up, quick self-care hacks. Even if it's just a 5-minute break and you have to lock yourself in the bathroom, scroll TikTok, sip your coffee while it's hot. As I always say, raid that hidden Twinkie stash. Or just sit in your car in the driveway pretending you don't hear "Mom" through the walls. Whatever gives you that little tiny pocket of sanity, take it. Because those little moments add up and keep you running on fumes. And here's the kicker. Research shows that 10 to 15 minutes of intentional downtime a day can actually lower your stress hormones and improve your mood. So yeah, your coffee break really does count. Next, building a support network. Lean on family if you can. I know sometimes that's not an option. So if it's not, create your own village. In my life, the best support I've gotten is not from the ones I was born into. It's the village that I pieced together. Kind of like mismatched Tupperware lids. And those connections, they're gold. Sharing advice, swapping babysitting, or just someone to text same at midnight when everyone else is asleep and you're having a breakdown. Studies show single parents with just one consistent support person lower stress and have better mental health outcomes. And here's the big one. Like I say for all the parents, let go of the guilt and celebrate the small wins. Did your kids eat dinner without a fight? Did they have dinner? Check. Did you get a shower today? Check. You survived Monday? Triple check. Give yourself credit for those wins, no matter the size. Parenting any type, is not perfect. It's messy, loud, and sometimes fueled entirely by macaroni and cheese, chicken nuggets, caffeine. But if you start celebrating that progress, it'll help keep your sanity intact. And it shows your kids that you're doing your best and you're not being perfect, but you're doing your best. And that is what really matters. Okay, let's move on for Shuffle Happens, where we take a card and see what kind of guidance the universe or just my chaotic deck has in store for us this week. So next up is the Hierophant. And honestly, it's kind of like a nod to what we're building here. Our own little institution of stitches, brews, and tarot. Not the kind that locks you into rules, but the kind that passes knowledge, laughter, and reflection forward. So here's the card. Again, close your eyes and picture it if you can, but no car accidents. Or my Cali listeners, if you're stuck in traffic, keep your ear out. So our card has an elderly woman sitting in a forest den. Ivy is curling around her chair. A soft glow shining above her head. She has long white hair. It's got double braids. She has a crown of flowers sitting atop her head. In one hand, she holds, could be a wand or a smoking pipe. In the other, a lantern lighting her space. At her feet is a single candle flickering, while two large white creatures with red eyes that kind of look like giant rats, but friendly, stand guard. Fireflies sparkle in the background as she looks straight at you with a knowing gaze. She is not here to judge you. She is just here to guide. So her keywords are tradition, spirituality, and guidance. When she's reversed, well, I say she, it could be he, but my deck, it's a she. It often points to questioning authority, breaking free from traditions that no longer serve you, or seeking your own path instead of following what is expected. Basically, the card's saying you don't need to follow someone else's rulebook. You've got your own intuition. And it's probably smarter anyway. So this week, whether upright or reversed, take it as your gentle reminder. Look for guidance. Share what you know. And remember, true growth happens when we're open to both teaching and receiving. All right, friends, let's wrap up with some key takeaways from today's episode. Celebrate the small wins, embrace the chaos, but always remember, you're never truly alone. The Hierophant reminds us that institutions and traditions are not always handed down. Sometimes we build them ourselves, day by day, piece by piece, right in the middle of real life. For my single parents, that can mean crafting and creating rituals and stability out of sheer determination. I can't speak of that experience myself, but I want to pause here and say, if that is you, know that I see you. I see the strength it takes, the determination, and I honor it. And that's what this show's about. Community, connection, and recognizing that quiet power it takes to build your own foundation when the world doesn't hand you one, or it hands you one that you don't want. And as always, keep your stitches sassy, your coffee strong, and your spirit grounded.